Can we have a roll call, please?
Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Here. Mr. Germana. Mr. Germana is absent at the moment. Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Brown.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Chrissy, anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in.
All right. Did Chuck call? Is he
Yep.
en route?
He's en route. He said he'll be about 20 minutes late.
Oh, okay. Apologize for my lateness this morning. Thank you for bearing with us. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from the January 5th meeting? Is there a second? All in favor? Aye. Minutes are approved for the January 5th meeting. There's two items that refer to the committee this morning. The first one is R20150261. Chrissy, if you could read that into the record.
Resolution 2015-0261, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County non-bargaining classification plan.
All right, and who is here to speak to that?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of council. Albert Bouchahine with the Personnel Review Commission. The Personnel Review Commission is requesting your consideration for modifications to the non-bargaining classification plan. The changes in department's operational needs and routine maintenance necessitate the revision of one classification, the creation of one new classification, and the deletion of 5 existing classifications. These changes were prepared by the PRC and class and comp staff who have worked extensively with the Department of Human Resources staff and county management teams to ensure they're fully informed of the proposed changes before you. In accordance with the PRC rules, the proposed changes were posted on the PRC's website 20 days prior to the PRC's formal action. The PRC considered and approved these changes at their December 2nd, 2015 meeting. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have in front of you. It's important to note that the original legislation before you has been amended to remove the employee benefits coordinator position from consideration. The Department of Human Resources director has requested more time to review those changes, and the PRC has no issue with that at all.
On that note, I'd like to propose a motion to put the proposed substitute before you, which will A, hold on Exhibit A, 2, re-letter the classifications, and C, the associated specifications as well. So can I have a second on that?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're now working from the proposed substitute.
Madam Chair, Amy from the Law Department.
Yes, Amy.
It looks like there's going to be some additional proposed revisions to correct the lettering in these exhibits. There was a mislettering on one of the exhibits in the proposed deletion classification, and because Exhibit A is being removed, the proposal is to renumber them beginning with Exhibit B as Exhibit A, and then correct the lettering following that. So there will be an additional proposed well, I'm looking at this, and there is no Exhibit A.
Exhibits will be renumbered.
Okay, so the exhibits will be renumbered.
Renumbered or relettered?
Well, relettered, yes.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. So basically, we'll go through A through G with airport operations being A, senior purchasing administrator being A, starting. That will start with letter A. Mr. Bouchahine, I did have some questions in regards to the airport operations, 1, 2, and 3. What are they being replaced with, or do you know, if anything?
Madam Chair, those classifications have been bargaining for years, probably 10 to 15 years. This is a product of just cleaning up the class plan. We review the class plan to look to see if there are any incumbents in the classifications, and if there aren't, we reach out to those departments to see if they have a desire to keep those active in the class plan. This particular class series have been part of a bargaining unit for probably 10 to 15 years, and there's no need to keep them in the non-bargaining classification plan.
Okay, so, but they will remain in the bargaining.
Correct. There's no effect on any current employees. There are employees in these classifications, but they are bargaining.
Gotcha, okay. Because I was wondering, that's a lot of positions, and who would take over those job functions? The administrative warden as well as the jail administrator, what's going on with that? Are we getting away with those positions, doing away with those positions altogether? And if we are the two proposed deletions, job duties falling up under the sheriff now?
Madam Chair, these two deletions at the Sheriff's Department were requested by the Department of HR. They're a result of position abolishments and reorganization by the Sheriff's Department. I cannot speak to how they reorganized. I'm going to defer that to a member of the management team, but these requests were requested by Department of Human Resources as a result of layoffs.
Mr. Kraus, would you know what's happening, or you can get the answer for us, what's happening with the job duties of the administrative warden as well as the jail administrator, if they're...
Certainly will check on it. Councilman.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Councilwoman Brown.
Thank you. Just for the record and clarification, you said there was a new one, a new position created or a new classification created?
There is. That's the senior
Employment
senior employment
testing
testing specialist. That is a new classification at the Personnel Review Commission. It will be a first-line supervisor classification who will supervise the employment testing team.
specialist. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other further questions? And for the senior employment testing specialist, has that started?
No, this is a position that we have posted, but we will not have an incumbent until this classification is approved by council. Once it becomes active, then we will go through the selection process.
Then you can post, or have you posted?
We have posted just so we can kind of get a head start on it, but we don't intend on filling the position until it becomes active in the class plan.
All right. Hearing no further questions, anything else you'd like to add, Mr. Boucher?
No, Madam Chair.
All right. Is there a rush on this?
No, we're not requesting a suspension of rules.
That won't impact the senior employment testing specialist in any way?
Well, I mean, if you're inclined to suspend the rules, we would not say no, but we're, the faster that gets approved, what, if I can ask, is there, will it go 2 more weeks for third reading, or?
Initially, but we can do second reading suspension.
Please.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to move R20150261 to the Committee of the Whole, second reading suspension. Is there a second?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman.
I'd like to move to authorize staff to change the lettering.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
As amended, it will move to the full council, second reading suspension. Good morning. You're here just an important time. Stop loss.
Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. Chrissy, if you can let the record reflect that Councilman Germana is in attendance, and read the next item into the record, please.
Resolution 2016-0016, rescinding resolution number 2015-0253 dated 12/8/2015, which made an award on requisition number 35199 to Reliance Star Life Insurance Company doing business as Voya Financial in the amount not to exceed $3,800,000 for stop-loss insurance services for county employees and their eligible dependents, and Cuyahoga County Benefits Regionalization Program participants, employees, and their eligible dependents for the period 1/1/2016 through 12/31/2016, authorizing a contract with Medical Mutual of Ohio in the amount not to exceed $3,724,000 for said services and time period.
Thank you. And who is here to speak to this matter?
Good morning. Ed Morales with Human Resources, Madam Chair. This item is to move forward with a contract with a MMO to provide stop-loss insurance in place of the Voya company. And it is necessary following the discontinuation of the contract with EBI. The language of the Voya contract required that that insurance be offered through the Voya risk pool, and we were able to obtain another bid from MMO at a cost savings without going through the EBI risk pool. And in light of our discontinuation of our relationship with EBI, we thought it was prudent to make sure that our stop-loss coverage was in place, and we were able to secure this contract with MMO at a savings, at a 2% savings. The loan executive, Mr. Anthony, helped us with that.
Who assisted with the negotiations of this contract?
Joseph Boatwright of the Law Department and Mr. Anthony.
What was the process to identify Medical Mutual?
Mr. Anthony identified Medical Mutual after it was determined that it was necessary to seek an alternative to Voya, and he assisted us.
Who's Mr. Anthony?
Mr. Anthony is the loan executive that the administration was able to obtain to assist us in our transition to a new consultant.
Okay, you talked about the risk pool. I'm just trying to understand that. So with us discontinuing with EBI, is that going to affect, how will that impact any of our other previous contracts with health insurance?
Well, my understanding is that it's not going to impact our contracts with any of the providers.
Okay.
We've also discontinued the Wellness IQ contract, but other than that, there is no other
connections. And what type of data is provided to the proposed vendor to determine rates?
The data that is provided is the same data that was provided to all of the bidders originally, the claims data from the carriers.
Any other questions from Councilman Gallagher?
You obtained a bid, but this is not bid.
Well, we were able to procure a offer from Medical Mutual once we identified that there was an issue with going forward with Voya, and Mr. Anthony approached MMO directly to determine if they were aware that there was an opportunity to contract with the county for stop loss.
Who else does this for business?
Who else is
in the business of doing this?
When we originally submitted the RFP, there were two responders. One was Voya, the other was a company called Sun Life. Actually, originally, the only company that we were told responded was Voya. We insisted that EBI attempt to secure an additional bid, and there was one other bidder, and that was Sun Life, and at a substantial increase in cost. And that's why we ended up going with Voya. Apparently, MMO somehow was not fully aware of the opportunity.
Who's Mr. Anthony? What company is
Mr. Anthony works for Oswald.
Why is he not here?
It
It would seem on his recommendation, we're going to go forward with a $3.8 million contract. I would assume that he'd be here.
We didn't request that Mr. Anthony be here. Maybe that's,
Didn't think that
perhaps.
was important?
Well, perhaps I'm remiss in that. We thought that because it was the same coverage at a 2% savings, that was the information that would be critical.
How do you get to the 2% savings?
My understanding is it's the premium cost is 2% less expensive than what we would have been paid, what we would have paid through Voya.
Is that locked in? I don't see it in the legislation.
It is. We have a set premium that is locked in, and
I just have a hard time moving on a no-bid contract for that kind of money without having the principal that made the decision being in front of us.
well, the principal that made the decision, sir, is the county executive
No,
with
they
the
made
advice of.
Let me clarify. They made the recommendation.
Right. We were elated to be able to receive an opportunity from MMO to help the county out. They've been a good partner with the county, and from our view, they stepped up to the plate and helped us to get through this time, and did so in a way that was actually cheaper than what we had in place with Voya. So we thought this to be a very, not a difficult decision, respectfully.
After missing the RFP.
Yes, my understanding was there was some difficulty with the way the RFP went out, and and that MMO did not have a full understanding that they were able to compete for this business on a even playing field.
Who was responsible for that RFP to be put out that way?
EBI put out the RFP.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Brown.
Most of my questions were asked and answered, but you said EBI was responsible for putting out the RFP?
That is my understanding, yes.
They were the contract holder?
Excuse me?
Were they the original contract holder?
No, they were our consultant, and so they part of their responsibility to the county was to assist the county procure stop-loss insurance.
Okay, so this is a no bid. I'm sorry, I'm the green one, the new one. So EBI put out the original
Yes,
RFP, and the contract was then awarded to
Voya.
Voya. Are
Voya.
they affiliated with EBI?
I don't have any information with regard to an affiliation between EBI and Voya. I can't say one way or the other. I do not believe so.
Okay, and with regards to MMO, Medical Mutual of Ohio, they did not respond to the original RFP, but they are now going to aid us in fulfilling the new agreement.
Correct.
Okay. At the same coverage for 2% savings.
Yes, ma'am.
And the premium, you said that was due to the premium, so the premiums are we paying a higher or lower premium? Can you expound upon that?
My understanding is that the total amount of the premium for 2016 stop-loss coverage at the $300,000 threshold is 2% lower than what we would have paid in going forward with the contract with Voya.
I think that's it for now. Thank you, Madam
Sure.
Chair.
Councilman Germana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this contract is a sum not to exceed $3,724,000 on stop loss. Can you remind me, is this specific or is this an aggregate stop loss? Meaning specific is any one case and then the stop loss starts, or if our self-insurance goes over a certain amount would be the aggregate?
My understanding is that it would be a specific format, so not an aggregate format.
Okay, so then the specific limit is what amount?
$300,000.
Okay. Well, I'm not, let me just say, I'm not concerned about Medical Mutual because they're big in self-insurance, and I didn't realize that they were not big in the stop loss, but they're very much involved in the underlying, even in self-insurance, with them being the third-party administrator. So Medical Mutual is very familiar with this the whole idea of self-insurance, stop loss, and so on. So Medical Mutual was aware of what the bid was.
Yeah, there is, there's some question as to the extent of their awareness of the original RFP process. So I can't tell you because I was not part of the discussions between EBI and any other business that they sought to, supply this product or the service to the county. I can tell you that I did speak directly with Mr. Dustin, and he informed me very shortly after I became interim director that there were only 2 bidders. Subsequently, we learned that MMO was in fact able to provide this product, and in many ways it's easier. And doesn't require, for example, the broker or the consultant to file claims on the county's behalf, as apparently was the arrangement with EBI and Voya. And so the fact that we're able to obtain this service from MMO, I think, is a very positive one for the county.
So the contract is from January 1 claim dates?
That's yes, it is.
So they're going back retroactive if there is any cases back to January 1 that eventually go over the 300,000, they're on the hook.
Yes.
Okay. I guess one other comment I'd like to make is that my experience through the city of Parma that's been self-insured for a long time, our experiences was good because of Medical Mutual, but they were, at the time, our third-party administrator, so they were much like our previous administrator was. And on the point of excess, there's not a lot of players that, at least in the case of Parma, who's been self-insured, there's only a few. I mean, there isn't a lot of players that get involved in that. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Chair, Mr. Morales, I know that there's a lot of organizations in the country that are in more or less the same or similar businesses as MMO. And my question is, to what extent do we know if there's other players that are in this kind of business that could also handle this contract?
Well, through the chair to Councilman Miller, again, what I can tell you is what I was informed by our consultant EBI at the time of the original RFP, that there were very few bidders. In fact, they informed us only 2. And apparently it had to do with our level, the level of risk that the county presented. and the information that they were provided at the time regarding that risk involving our claims data. And so I can't tell you. Obviously, I don't know how many companies there are across the country who provide this service to public entities. I can tell you that the consultant that the county hired identified two. And the one that the consultant urged was the better product was through the consultant's own risk pool. And when we ended our relationship with the consultant, we thought it prudent to seek alternatives once again to make sure that the county stop loss was covered. And Medical Mutual stepped up to the plate, and we are very happy with Medical Mutual and grateful that they've been a very good partner to the county.
Madam Chair, Mr. Morales, I'm observing that this is just a one-year contract, and given the transitional nature of these circumstances, I'm inclined to agree that this is a workable solution, but I'm starting to think about what happens at the end of the year when it's time for the next one. And my first question along that line would be, because of the thing about the EBI risk pool, would that mean that Voya probably could not be a bidder on this contract in the future?
I can't say that. I suppose that they could be a bidder, but it wouldn't be through EBI.
I understood. Okay. My general comment is that I think it would be very worthwhile over the course of the year to go out and find whoever else is out there that could provide this product. I don't think we want a situation in the future where there's little or no competition. We want to create a competitive situation for this and ensure that people sharpen their pencils a little bit. And so that would be my recommendation. But in the meantime, I'm willing to vote for this resolution.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm in complete agreement with you. And I can say that I was dismayed when I was informed that there were only two bidders for the business originally, and that one, Sun Life, was at an extremely high cost. And so essentially we were presented with one choice, one viable option, and that was Voya. And I was very happy to learn afterwards that MMO was in fact able to provide this product and willing to do so at a cost savings to the county.
Do we feel there's a need for second reading suspension on this item?
Yes, we would request that.
I would make that motion then, that we refer this item recommended for approval and ask for consideration that it be put on the agenda for second reading suspension.
Thank you.
Gallagher and then Germana.
So our consultant, we told the consultant to put out the RFP. Who on our team reviewed the RFP? And could the county have put out an RFP without the consultant?
The answer would be yes, except that one of the services that is typically expected of a healthcare consultant is to help the county secure stop loss insurance, and that has been an expectation for many years. Mm-hmm. And it will be an ongoing expectation of a new consultant after we go through an RFP process for one. We expect that the consultant provides us with, excellent service in identifying options. So for stop loss.
So who is in our corner watching this?
When you say who is in our corner,
What's the name of the person that worked with EBI to provide us with this RFP? Do we know that?
well, I think that former interim director Durkin was working with Mr. Dustin in addition to assistance from the law department.
And no further up the chain?
That I can't. I don't believe there was anyone else involved up the chain. It would have been an HR function to work with the county's benefits consultant.
And, well, I won't go there. Seems to be a little bit of inside baseball going on here. I don't think anybody wants to talk about that, but my concern is that as stable as Medical Mutual is, they come back on bid with a lower amount, and I'm just wondering if we bid it, who else would be out there? Because of the way the RFP was written, Medical Mutual ran away from this. They didn't miss it. They saw it and didn't like it. And there's a reason why they didn't bid on it. Much like Sun Life came in much higher. I'm sure they didn't like it, but thought, what the heck? So something's not right here. And I'm just wondering, are we compounding the things that are wrong by going on bid? And now you're seemingly telling me our backs are against the wall time-wise. Is that true?
We are not going to go unbid for stop loss coverage in the future, and nor did we go unbid this year for stop loss coverage. Unfortunately, we were informed that there were very few responders. Now, I can't tell you that I understand the communication issues fully, and what happened between or why Medical Mutual did not respond originally. I think that there was an issue regarding the way the RFP was put out. And the way the data was provided, I think in a CD-ROM format, and that somehow played a part. But I can say that this is a matter that is important, and we are up against it, as you say. It is important to have stop loss coverage in place ASAP, and the good news is we're doing better than where we were a few weeks ago. And so I look forward to the opportunity to work with MMO and whoever else bids on our business, and to ensure that the county is getting the best possible product at the best possible price. That's absolutely our goal.
That's a given, but it'll be interesting going forward now that we have a bar set as to going forward where that bar is going to be placed. And I'm very uncomfortable going forward with this, but I understand the necessity to go forward with this. I don't blame this administration. They've walked into some pretty dirty closets. And this is just another one that has to be cleaned out. So I'll support this, but it is an interesting dilemma that we are faced with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Germain, and then Brown.
Can you remind me what the stop loss was the year before?
Voya was the stop loss provider
premium.
the year before.
The premium amount.
That information I don't have here. We can provide that to you quickly.
Because, if this amount is close to what the amount was in previous years, that certainly would give me a comfort level. But to somewhat of where Mr. Gallagher was going, the county goes out for a benefits administrator because we don't have the people on staff that are experienced risk managers setting up what that stop loss amount is. It's all about risk pool, so I think some of the problems with this former was clerical and keeping track, and some of the language not being clear cut. But this stop loss, to bring it down to the simple level, is just like your own personal insurance when you got a deductible. You pick the deductible that you feel comfortable with, and then you buy the insurance or get bids on the insurance based on that deductible. And so that's what we have here. So the other thing is there was this confusion of putting on hold, taking on any other regional partners. That has to do with premiums and deposits and reserves. It has nothing to do with the stop loss, because the stop loss is based on claims, not how much money we have in reserve to pay the claims up to $300,000. So that confusion has nothing to do with this particular product because it's based on claims going over to $300,000. So
That's correct.
So I just want to get a little recent history of what our stop loss is in the past.
Okay, we will provide you with that information. But again, as I said, the contract before you ends up being a cost savings to the county over the contract that had been envisioned with Voya.
That cost savings to me, it seems to me that they must have known what the previous amount was, and to give a 2% discount is really not that significant when you take how much risk they have. So going with this contract is not based on the fact that we're saving 2%. It's going on the basis that we've got a well-known, reputable insurance company that's given us a bid.
Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Morales, I just want to, I hate to beat a dead horse. How are contracts typically put out, RFPs rather, for a service like this? Because we said EBI executed that. How are they typically done?
For stop loss insurance, my understanding is that the consultant had assisted us in developing the RFP and putting it out for bid.
And you mentioned the CD-ROM. Do you feel like the CD-ROM, or had MMO expressed that the CD-ROM factor prevented them or hindered them from doing the original bid? Is that what I understand?
Councilwoman, when I asked Mr. Anthony, as I'm sure you would have, why MMO did not bid originally, he indicated to me that was part of it.
So
his understanding that was part of it.
is Mr. Anthony now our new consultant, or is he just helping us with the terms for the MMO agreement?
Mr. Anthony was a loaned executive who was assisting us. We do not have a permanent contract with him.
So just a temporary
or
contract
long-term.
for the MMO agreement, or just was he a substitute for EBI just for, you get what I'm trying to say? Okay.
He was a substitute. He helped us at a time that we thought it necessary to have another resource available when some of the issues with EBI arose.
And how will the contracts be solicited in the future, or the RFPs? I keep saying contracts, but how will the RFPs be solicited in the future? Will we avoid this CD-ROM issue so that we can broaden our pool of vendors that, would have the capacity and ability to provide this service? Because if MMO is, in fact, as Councilman Germana pointed out, highly reputable, and I just personally find it odd that they would not take advantage of an opportunity that was available to them. So can you kind of speak to that for me?
I found it odd as well. I was truly dismayed when I was informed that there were only 2 bidders for the stop loss business. I didn't understand that, and further disappointed, I would say, when I informed that one of those bidders was extremely high, and the county was essentially, I felt, being pushed in a direction. So that was an issue for me. And if I have anything to say about it going forward, ma'am, yes, Councilwoman, we'll do everything we can to avoid those types of issues in the way the RFPs are put out. And I'm sure that the new Chief Talent Officer, Mr. Dykes, agrees with that. And with his leadership, we're going to definitely avoid this going forward.
And I'm glad he's here. Additionally, so are we seeking a new consultant are we looking for a new consultant for next year's RFP, or?
We are seeking a new benefits consultant. Yes, we are.
Okay, and do you know if Mr. Anthony will be interested or bidding for that, or has he expressed any?
Our relationship with Mr. Anthony was directly with Mr. Anthony as a loaned executive. He works for the Oswald Company.
Okay.
I would anticipate that Oswald would probably bid.
Okay.
I would guess.
All right. And I think that's it. I just want to emphasize the way we move forward with putting out those RFPs and making sure that we are and putting ourselves in a position that we get the most qualified and bidders to attract those types of people to compete and bid on the services that we provide. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jermaine?
I just want to try to bring some clarity to this about MMO or Medical Mutual. Their primary insurance appetite is not the big risk of stop loss. Medical Mutual of Ohio is more in the management of claims, and they have contracts with all the different hospitals, physician groups, and so on. So that's where their expertise is. Their expertise probably is greater in managing healthcare premiums and charges. So the self-insurance is more like, a big risk taker company that's taking on big risk, not managing. So that's probably why Medical Mutual did not submit a bid, because they're really not in the business of big risks. They're more in the business of managing healthcare costs. So, did we find out what the amounts were?
Yes, Madam Chair, to Councilman Germana, my understanding is that the total premium for stop loss for 2015 was $2,935,909.
Okay. So, this is a substantial increase from the prior year. Do you know how much was paid out in stop loss?
We won't know that until our runout claims are completed. But I can provide you with data as to the amount of claims that have been paid thus far. And I don't have that data in front of me, but I will.
Besides the
provide it to you.
claims, there's probably a reserve amount. So they set a reserve based on what they think a claim may be. So it would be important to find out what was paid and then what is reserved. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Morales, just so I can be clear, who is providing stop loss coverage now for the county?
MMO will be providing stop loss effective January 1.
And in healthcare, we have a 3-year cycle. So where are we at in the cycle for stop loss?
Stop loss contracts
Or the annual?
are annual.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, just wanted to make sure on that. So I'm assuming that the 3.7 that they're charging us over the 2.9 that we paid in 2015 when it was negotiated is probably because they have claims, they're taking a risk
They're
to January
examining.
1st.
Yes, ma'am. They're examining our claims data and calculating what the risk is. And we apparently had a bad year in 2015, making the stop loss coverage more expensive for this year.
So anywhere in that contract is, will it be negotiated down if the claims come out that it was okay, or that's just a set?
No, ma'am. This is a fully insured product, and just like any insurance that you purchase, you pay your premium, and you don't expect to get premium back if your loss is lower.
Okay, and previous contracts was bid between Sun Life and Voya. I remember in the old council chambers, this was one of the questions. When they came before us, HR came before us and told us that they were going to drop, Sun Life because Voya was, bidded better or whatever the case may be. So that question was asked in the past in regards to those two. And I don't know why we, and I also remember there was a big discussion going on about sole sources back then around the same time. So I'm just amazed that the law department didn't check or didn't verify when this statement or this question was asked back in 2012.
Well, I can't tell you about 2012, but I can tell you that, my belief is that the law department would have done everything possible. But I can't say that what we have done this year, the procurement process is different from what's gone on in the past. My understanding is that in the past, under the past administration, that the stop loss contract was actually brought to council a little later, and we thought that was not an appropriate path.
Okay, I know we have to get to other meetings. And moving forward in 2017, are there plans to bid this contract going forward?
Absolutely.
I know it's been asked.
Yes.
From Miller and Germana and Gallagher.
Stop loss coverage will be bid
Okay.
for 2017.
How long has the loan executive from Oswald been our consultant? I know he's worked with us for a while. Do you have a?
It was a period of several weeks. I would say, in November and December.
So once again, we're put in a position that we don't have all of our questions answered. So I know there was a motion on the table for second reading suspension. Was there a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second it, but I do have another question.
Councilman
Or actually,
Jermaine.
more than a question.
Okay.
As I was thinking about the increase, we did increase the pool. And I think the stop loss goes not only over the employees of Cuyahoga County, but our regional partners. And we had two substantial increases, I think, in the last 2 years, and that's Cleveland Heights and Euclid that were added. So because of that, the stop loss has got to go up. Now, I don't know if it's in the same percentage, but we got to take that in consideration because we've got a significantly more people that could hit that target of 300,000. So if we take the amount of lives out, this may not be as big of an increase as we seem to think it is. And I wasn't thinking of that when I heard what the past premium is, but I just wanted to make that point.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor for the second reading, suspension, the first and the second. So all in favor of moving this contract to the council of the whole for second reading suspension, say aye.
Aye.
It has been moved. Real quick, any miscellaneous business? Anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair.
Meeting adjourned.